Revelation 3148. From the 4th of June 1944. Creation proof of the eternal Godhead. There can be no more obvious proof of the existence of an eternal deity than creation, for in it man can daily see a miracle take place. He can observe the working of a power in it, and he can now imagine this power as he likes. He has to connect it with something of essence, which thereby visibly expresses itself. For works which testify to deepest wisdom, whose existence is not purposeless or pointless, must have been considered beforehand and now become form in a certain regularity through a will which rules over the strength. And this will testifies to a being which must be acknowledged as the eternal creator of the entire universe. No work of creation has come into being haphazardly, for even if the purpose is still hidden from the human being, it nevertheless underlies every work which has emerged from the will of that creating power. The more attentively the human being therefore looks at creation, the more convinced he will be to see in it the work of a master who is exceedingly loving, wise and powerful. And thus creation alone can lead to a rock-solid faith as soon as the human being is searching and with an earnest will abandons himself to the thoughts which arise to him when he looks at even the smallest work of creation. For God himself speaks to him through creation, and every human being can understand his language if he is willing to hear it. For nothing could come into being by man's own strength that is visible to him in creation. God's strength first has to become effective, and this strength has to be attributed to an entity, because every work of creation reveals a plannedness. Thus the strength has been directed by a will. But as soon as a will is acknowledged, there must also be a bearer of this will, no matter in which form the human being imagines it. For the eternal deity cannot be imagined by the human being, and yet it has to be recognized as a being which thinks and shapes, which allows its thoughts to become form through its will, which testifies to profound wisdom. Wisdom and omnipotence are therefore proven, and love is the fundamental reason for everything that is. Love for that which every work of creation contains within itself. Love for the essence which once emerged from his strength, thus it is a part of himself. Although the human being, as a seeker, knows nothing about the spiritual life in the whole of creation, he can only recognize the elementary strength for the time being, the creator of what his eye sees. But the inner life will not remain hidden from him if he strives for this knowledge. For once he has recognized a creator full of wisdom and power, he will also ask about the meaning and purpose of creation. And he will receive an answer. And then he will recognize God's love, which is constantly active in order to let new creations come into being, in order to assign them to the beingness as a dwelling place which shall mature therein. And then the human being will gain a clear image. In profound humility he will submit himself to his Creator, whom he will never deny, whom he will regard as a being of supreme perfection, full of love, wisdom and omnipotence, and whom he now strives towards with every thought, because he must love this entity and desires to come close to it. Thus, even without the divine word being preached to him by fellow human beings, the human being can take notice of his existence himself, for God presents the simplest means to him on a daily basis. He need only pay attention to creation and earnestly let it speak to him, then God himself will already speak to him, and he will receive his word directly by being mentally enlightened so that he can attain living faith. And this faith will be firmly seated in him, for creation bears witness to God's love, wisdom and omnipotence for everyone who, as a seeker, asks and listens for the answer which comes to him through the Creator himself. Amen.